Welcome back, everybody. We're going to conclude Gary's grace story today.
We are.
Bring us to the present time.
Yes, indeed.
But before we do that, Gary, do you mind just having a prayer?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Father in heaven, thank you for this loving church family that we're a part of here in Visalia. Their love, mercy, and grace to us has been just phenomenal. And Lord, as we wrap up the grace story and this final component, I just ask that your Holy Spirit would lead and guide and bless. And Lord, somehow, may the grace that you've extended me be a blessing to each person listening as they think about their own relationship with you and their grace story is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
So, Gary, we had some really great years in Missouri.
We did. It was really exciting because we were able to get a house out in the country and the girls enjoyed it out there. We had animals and pets and animals and pets and more animals and pets. Yeah. But and the church there was amazing too. They were when we arrived.
Perfect.
I think the church was about 30 in attendance, and then we were able to have several evangelists come through and help us with evangelism meetings. John Bradshaw, and his young family at that time came through Clinton, and we had a great meeting. Kim Kerr, another great evangelist, came in, and then. Vern Snow was he was old school, but he did do a good job, and God worked through him to bring some tough people across the line.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, but as God grew the church, we had nearly 100 baptisms there in our time there. Built a new church there near the hospital.
Golden Valley Seventh Day Adventist Church.
Yeah, just wonderful people. I'd name a few people there, but then I'd forget some. So we're just not going to do that. But
all y'all.
Yeah, Clinton, Missouri, we love you. Yeah, Clinton, Missouri, we love you.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys,
every one of
you guys are amazing. During that time, in addition to pastoring, I had an opportunity to. I met Elder Doug Kilcher. And we just talked with his wife Carol over Sabbath. And we missed Doug. He's been gone now to cancer 10 years. But Doug was a professor at Andrews University. He taught church growth, and he came to Mid-America Union. The union president at the time, Elder Sandifer, a lot of the rural churches were dying, and so they wanted to initiate a revitalization project for churches. And so Elder Sandifer invited Elder Kilcher to come and do that, and I became acquainted with Elder Kilcher and the working that they were doing with the union. And before leaving Clinton, Missouri, I had the chance to work as his associate ministerial there in Mid-America Union and pastor at the same time.
Right. So you're busy with both.
Busy with both.
Which led you to when Doug moved from the union.
Correct.
Went to Texas.
Yep. He got invited to be a conference secretary to fill that position there in the Texas conference.
And they invited you.
And it was shortly after that they invited me down. They didn't have a full-time ministerial director at that time or department, and so they invited me to come down. And what a privilege it was for me to work with Elder Holly, Errol Eder, treasurer, and Doug Kilcher. Those were the three officers that gave me the opportunity there. And I really enjoyed those first 5 years in ministry. I really did. Being a pastor to pastors, that was awesome.
But because you're so awesome and talented.
Well, no, don't go there. No. Anyway, we moved into administrative positions and ended up.
You grappled with that. You did not want to do
I said
that.
no
3 times.
Yeah, and but they kept asking, and I thought, well, maybe I should say yes. But anyway, good experience, really grew my leadership. I think I learned a lot as a leader. But if you're familiar with the politics in Texas Conference, good people there. But we were really in some very tumultuous times there in the Texas Conference. There was just a lot going on. And for me, in particular, as conference secretary, there was just a lot that we were dealing with.
It really, all that heaviness did land on your shoulders. You kind of were the
Well, with the lawsuits, there were several lawsuits
Yeah.
going on, and it was those were some of the things that predominantly landed
yeah.
on
There
my
were
desk.
several things.
But my colleagues around me, you know, Elder Carlos Craig was president, and several others that I served with there. Elton DeMores was a pastor. He took over in ministerial when I moved into conference secretary.
But the bottom line, Gary, that
It was
job,
tough. It was tough. It was
yeah,
tough. And it over
its
time,
toll.
it took a toll on me physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.
So we were there a total of 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years in Texas.
And so it was a ride. A lot happened. I shared a little bit with me, I think.
Well,
because-
and I was traveling, especially in those later years.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some years where, I mean, it seemed like I was on the road half the time.
Yeah.
And so just a lot of demands, and that hurt our relationship again. So here we are in a relationship that, you know, I'm neglecting my wife and my kids.
We do better when we're together.
We do better when we're together. That's absolutely
I think
true.
we learned that.
You would.
But you know, in the church sometimes, though, Gary, I remember Elder Bailey. Remember what advice he gave you?
Yeah,
What did he tell you?
Well, when we left evangelism and came to Clinton, Missouri to pastor, Elder Bailey said, Gary, you know, it's likely that you may have an opportunity to go into the conference administration work. And he warned me. He said, if you do, be careful that that doesn't steal your soul.
Yeah, I think it kind of
And now, having said that, I don't want to say anything that would be derogatory towards any administration in our structure. You know, thank goodness for administrators, because we need somebody that senses a call to that ministry.
But you know what
to
he
serve
meant.
the body. But I do know what he meant, and I began to feel it, especially towards the end, after the last several years of pretty significant pressure with these lawsuits and different things politically. You were wanting to get back out to California. Your folks were, you know, getting older.
Right.
And we both grew up in California, and we wanted to get back
Both
here.
Both girls were out there.
And so, yeah, it just ended up that, long story short, one thing after another, we had an opportunity to interview here in Visalia. You had already actually gotten a job in Visalia.
I told him I'm going.
Yeah.
He says, well, figure it out.
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, I'm going.
Yeah.
But it all worked out.
It did. And our church family here, the way it all got orchestrated.
You got a job like 2 months after I did.
Yeah, and it was an amazing opportunity.
In the same town in Visalia.
And the one thing I do want to say here, though, is that there were other feelers out and other opportunities that we looked at.
Oh yeah,
and,
Washington State. I
well,
think.
but even we were disappointed in one that didn't go our way.
And that was what I.
And we kind of had this. You know, Rose even made the comment to me. Well, does God ever give you the desires of your heart? And.
Sorry.
But Visalia has ended up being the desires of our hearts.
Yeah.
I mean, God knew where we were going to
I have
be.
to ask forgiveness for asking that question.
And the reality is, we had no clue. I had no clue that.
But here's the thing: we get here. I mean, and it's August or July, August, and we just barely. We was just starting a good momentum. At least we thought it was a good momentum. Enough for us to fall in love with the church, and church fall in love with us.
Well, in the church, they were in the middle of remodeling the sanctuary, and so we were doing a lot of things then. And man.
But April 16th, 15th, 16th?
April the 15th, tax day.
Yeah. 2016.
2016.
What happened that day?
Had a stroke.
I
had a stroke that day, yeah. And
our daughter her husband were living with us, and Gary woke up and just like any other day, and had a few things, you know, he dropped or just.
I had an appointment at noon. I had been studying in the morning,
right,
and then I had an appointment at the church office at noon, and so when I went to get out of the shower and tried to get dressed, I actually fell down on the floor there in the bedroom. And it took me about 20 minutes to get off the floor and onto the bed. And
You just
and
didn't
I'm
have
just
the strength.
yeah, I couldn't. I was having trouble with my left side a little bit, and I'm not connecting it at all.
And I asked him, I said, at any point in this time, Gary, did you think something's wrong? And he said, no, you don't know.
And
Didn't that blow your mind?
and trying to put my
Well, even
buttons
falling on the
through.
floor and can't get up.
Well, yeah, but I should have known, right? Hello. But it took me forever to button my buttons on my shirt, and I got in the car and I drove to the church and had this appointment, and yeah, and the person that I had the appointment with, his name was Joe, and he said, I could tell you were kind of out of sorts
Well,
the first
did you
10 minutes.
drop
I
your-
dropped my keys and my
bonk your
glasses and
head?
bonked my head on the desk when I went to pick them up, and but then he said after the first 10 minutes, he said, I was taking notes on the computer and just we
so
were
weird.
rolling, and yeah, so then I went and got my hair cut of all things. So I got my hair cut, and
it wasn't until, I think, when you came
when
home.
I came home.
And Kristen was sitting in the house, and she didn't think anything of it at that point. She said, you said something, oh, I'm going to go, you were going to leave again. And you walked out the door, and then you came back in, and she looked at you, and you were at the door, and you just must have had this look. You were confused.
I was confused, and something was wrong.
And she says, "Are you
and I didn't know
okay?"
what. Yeah, exactly.
And then she says, I think you've had a stroke.
I think you've had or are having a stroke, Dad.
And she's
so
a
we got to
nurse.
get you to the ER.
Anyway, so they take him to the ER, and they call me. I was just coming home, and from there you went to Fresno and several days in the hospital, and then when you came home, it was like, how long in your bedroom? A year?
Year and a half, actually.
Migraines
I mean,
are-
I would get out every once in a
Rarely.
while, but not very often. And
It was dark.
it was again a dark season of my life. And
You weren't the same.
I was not the same.
You weren't the
And
same.
all of the testing forward, there still is some residual from the evaluations that most people can't tell.
Right.
However, there are a few things, and I've learned to compensate with those. But the reality is, I had migraine headaches for almost a year and a half every day. And,
So any of you that have had those, But I think we went through this, he went through depression before, and you would think I'd recognize it again, but he just was in the bedroom, dark place, and you think it's just for the migraines, but he started to deteriorate.
It started out that way, but one of the side effects, so to speak, of a stroke is often depression.
Right.
Stroke victims often go into depression and suffer with depression.
So you wouldn't, when I tried to help you, sometimes it actually made you mad.
It did. Yeah.
And that was hard for me
because
to
it felt like I was being pushed and prodded to do something that I couldn't do, and it felt to me, the whole stroke thing, it was like my brain went silent, and life is happening out here around me, and I'm an outsider looking in, kind of as a spectator. While I could hear the voices and people talking and so forth, it was like I was like outside the room looking in.
Yeah.
And so it was just a very freaky time for me.
We got to the point where I don't know. I just said, Gary, we have to do something. And I remember you telling me, Rose, I can't. And I said,
Right.
Gary, you don't have to do anything. All I need you to do is just be willing to let me help you. And I think that was where we decided.
That was a turning point.
It was a turning point.
Yeah, that was
dealt
definitely
with the
a turning
depression, and we just kind of took each piece of what you were struggling with and got you over the edge. And
Well, and there was all kinds of testing,
right. Cognitive testing,
and there was a neurological psychologist that I
Right.
was seeing, and so there was just a lot of stuff going on through
But
that
once
time.
we kind of got you into this better place, medications and for your depression, to your headaches, led you to at about a year and a half or two out. You still had your back problem.
Right,
And,
because I had some back issues even prior to
Right.
the stroke. Then the stroke delayed the back surgery that I had planned on having. And so we get down 2 years later into 2018, and all during this time too, it's important to say that it felt like I'd get better and then I'd fall back.
Right.
and then I'd get better and then fall back. And the church was kind of like, oh, he's coming back, good. Well, no, he's got
the pressure you felt of that.
I did.
Not that they did anything.
And I really encouraged the church to move on
did.
and get a new pastor. But this conference administration here in Central California, Elder Ramiro Cano and Ron and everybody there, all of them,
very supportive.
So supportive. I never could have believed or imagined that they would be as supportive, and the church would be so supportive.
They prayed.
And for us to be able to make it through this difficult journey, I mean, 2018, I was hospitalized 6 times.
Yeah. I know.
Two back surgeries, 2 infections. So it just, and there were so many times through there where I just gave up, and I felt like my ministry was over. It was done. I can't do this. It's just too much. And my mind was still having trouble keeping up with things, and I was forgetful, and it just wasn't working. And I was just, again, depressed and down about it. But God brought us through, and through all the prayers that everybody prayed, we actually came back to work full time, March the 1st, a year ago.
2019?
2019, March 1st. And so here we are, just coming to the end of March now,
a
year later. And what a blessing this church family has been, and we love this church family. And you're stuck with us for a while, okay? Not going nowhere.
But here's the thing, Gary. God knew what you were going to go through here, and He gave me a terrific job. He surrounded us with a wonderful church family. We have our family as well.
Yep.
You weren't traveling. Can you imagine if you had that stroke and you were traveling all the time?
I would hate to even think about it.
You could have been in a hotel.
Who knows?
Again, God put you where it was safe, knowing full well what was going to happen. And even though we didn't see it at the time, we can look back and see His hand even in that storm.
Yes.
And every storm that you had.
Correct.
And here
these instances it's very clear that I wouldn't be alive if God had not intervened.
Right.
And so, I remember as a kid, I forgot to tell the story. I'm going to just say it real quick. But when I was 16, driving a white Opel, I was coming home from a Friday night youth program in the fog here in
and we know
Dinuba,
how foggy it
gets. And I was going faster than I should have been. In the fog as a teenage driver. Yeah, imagine, huh? But my leg, literally just came off of the gas pedal and hit the brakes. And that little white Opel came to a stop just as a train came whizzing by. And this was at a country crossing.
So it
didn't have any of the lights or the arms or anything.
Wow.
And so there's just, God is so amazing that I've always had a hard time understanding how the God of the universe has time to care about me in a little white Opel, or to care about me with migraine headaches, And so my story has been a story of God's love and intervention and grace. And even though I've made so many bad choices and so many foolish choices, chose to rebel against Him and to hurt you and our kids and others around me, God redeems our pain. He redeems our poor choices for His glory. And Rose, when you were rebaptized, that really spoke to me, and it moved me, and I sensed God wanting me to take that same step. And
beautiful.
Yeah, so this week I'm going to be rebaptized, and we've asked Elder Ramiro Cano. We're not sure yet whether that's all going to work out, but it'd be an honor for me to have Elder Cano rebaptize me.
I think too, I think each one of us always question our identity and struggle with who we are and where we're going and why me, and I just think we all have that, and I think that's part of life, and we shouldn't let that get us discouraged. we look at you and think, oh, you got your everything all together. Or we look at another person who got everything together. We don't.
No, we're all a mess.
We're all a mess.
Yeah, that's so true.
And we all have our stories, so it doesn't matter. Just God is calling us.
Well, and I think too, some may be questioning, well, Gary, why, I mean, you're a pastor. Aren't you a little embarrassed to get rebaptized? Or why are you getting rebaptized? And to that, I would simply say, the fact that I was baptized at age 11 or 10, and a lot of rebellion through those years, and a lot of poor choices, and living a life of sin, a worldly life of compromise, I just need to be rebaptized, and just want to do that. Yeah,
symbolic to us to feel like we're just putting that down and burying it. And just like in my baptism, I told Gary to hold me down. I want that stuff dead and gone. And I said, I'll let you know when I want to be lifted back up out of that water. So he wasn't trying to drown me, but it was important to me to just get rid of that stuff.
Be there
I know
for
it was
a moment.
Gone, but just symbolically, and I know the same.
It's the same. You know, God has forgiven me.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm secure in His love and forgiveness.
But you just kind of.
But I just this is just a step that I need to take.
It means a lot to you.
It means a lot to me, and
I think that's great.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that I want to do. And the one thing that I would say is this, as far as being embarrassed about being rebaptized. You don't have to. I don't have to be embarrassed because I'm a sinner.
Yeah.
Now, if I try to represent myself as something other than a sinner, and then I'm not living up to that, okay, now I might have something to be embarrassed about. But, you know, I've been pretty kind of an open book, and maybe too much so. But at the end of the day, none of us have a reason to be embarrassed about being a sinner and in need of a Savior.
Because we're all in the same boat.
And wanting to recommit our lives to you. So church family, thank you for your love. Elder Cano and Central California Conference Administration, thank you for your support during these past 5 years. It's just been an amazing journey, and I love each and every one of you, and will always hold a special place in my heart for all of you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Gary, let's have prayer.
Okay.
And we'll close with that.
Okay.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for Gary's beautiful story and the story of grace that you have shown. And Lord, as he recommits his life to you, may he feel his past and all his poor choices be buried dead forever in the deepest depths of the sea, never to be seen again, even for the devil to taunt him with. So Lord, be with us today. Anyone that's listening or watching, that you may touch their hearts and you can reach them to wherever you want them to do. And may you show us your face, show us your love, that we will be forever changed. Thank you for all that you do in your precious holy name. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Love you, honey.
Love you too.
Good job. I'd kiss you, but social distance.
I know, social distancing.